I'm sitting here with Mr. Joe Beasley. Mr. Beasley, today South Carolina decided to take the flag down. But I look at, there was almost 14, 15 hours worth of debate in the Republican Party, in the Capitol, and nobody talks about the debate that they was having. Why did it take 15 hours? Why did it take 15 hours for them to debate whether or not to take the flag down?
Well, as you know, Bradley, that this discussion has been going on for many years, and this tragic incident that happened at Emmanuel Church that killed the pastor, who was also a senator, and 8 other people. And then when we learned that the young man that was a trigger man was a devotee of the Confederate flag, I think it kind of stirred up some thinking, some new thinking, that perhaps it's possible to become so enticed by a symbol that it becomes real. And as you know, according to reports, this young man had thought that other organizations like the KKK and others was not really acting, that they were talking. And he wanted to be a man of action. And then to have the audacity to go into a prayer meeting in a historic black church and sit there for an hour and then decide that he would start a race war.
Compare what happened in Charleston to the 1965 bombing in Birmingham. The pros and cons are different. You look at that point, somebody took a bomb, hit it in the church. But for somebody to come up, go into a church, sit in the meeting, and then come out and shoot. What is that psyche?
Well, you know, in Montgomery and Birmingham, like they're talking about the girls who
before
Sunday school.
Right.
Yeah, that was in
Birmingham.
Birmingham, yeah.
Before little girls.
And it was a cowardice act. And when you do it through subterfuge.
I guess my question is, Mr. Beasley, right now, if you sit there and you can argue for almost 13 hours in the capital, South Carolina, how can you turn around and say they don't see nothing wrong with keeping that flag up?
Well, that's that subset of people that...
and that's a legislator.
Yeah, that thrive on what that flag represent. And what that flag represent is white supremacy. They believe that they're better than black people, sincerely. And there's a lot of people that died in the war. And when this war was over, it was not over. I was just reading today about Robert E. Lee, and this particular piece I was reading was talking about the honor of Robert E. Lee. One thing I didn't know that he was offered the command of the Union Army in D.C., but based on his values, that he declined and went with the Confederacy. But then they talked about this man of honor and valor. And they talked about when became obvious that the South was going to lose the war, the Confederacy had lost, and a lot of his troops had allegedly begged him to let them run into the underbrush or whatever, and to start a guerrilla war and keep it going. But Lee insisted that that not happen, and in fact, that Lee, stated that that he was happy that the slaves were emancipated, and I also learned that I guess before when he took the command of the Confederate Army, that he had freed his slaves.
He had freed his slaves?
He had freed his slaves. And so there's a lot of dynamics, and then they were saying that that General Grant actually had slaves. I don't know how all that worked, and he said that General Grant, that when he came into Atlanta, rather than command in a way that you deal with the combatants, that he had turned his troops loose on the civilians, and I guess they stole everything that wasn't tied down, and they burnt the plantation. They burnt the city, as you know. And what Lee and what this person suggested is that that maybe Grant wasn't a gentleman like Lee. And it was an interesting argument, and I think that it might be worthy for us to, go back and look at it. And what this gentleman argued, and this was an editorial piece today in the AJC, what this gentleman argued was that bring the flag down, put it in the Confederate Museum, because it offends so many people, American citizens. So let's take it down. Now, on the other hand, what he also suggested that if we, those of us that abhor what the Confederacy stood for, he argued that to go after all of the Confederate symbols would only increase bitterness and animosity. And he was arguing that maybe some of that should be reconsidered. And of course, as you know, I've said publicly that one or two things need to happen at Stone Mountain. And I think what would be preferable, there's no question that Stone Mountain, they've been trying to build that monument to Stonewall Jackson and, Robert E. Lee and Jefferson Davis. But the private funding was not adequate to get the job done. But then at the height of the civil rights movement, the state of Georgia bought out the private owners and put the resources of the state of Georgia behind Stone Mountain. And they brought in the architects, and they hewed that stone out as in your face. We got Stonewall Jackson, we got Jefferson Davis, and we got Robert E. Lee. And so and that's standing over you forever. And the Confederacy has been made clear that it was about white supremacy. That the Confederate really believed that white people are superior to black people.
Well, what about the Democratic Party and the J.J. Dunner?
Well, let me tell you this. I have been picking those events. Oh, yeah.
I didn't know that.
Oh, yes. They picked those events because and the Democratic Party, you know, and we've said this over and over again, when it comes to racial matters, the Democratic Party and the Republican Party close ranks and they come together on race issues. And so I just think that we've been really not very far-sighted when we got the largest block of black
Elected officials
in the country, and they want to be they're Democrats, and it just would seem to me that they were an independent block of black people that would vote the black interest, then we could get some things accomplished, because the Republican Party, not the Democratic Party, could effectively do anything if this big block of black people would vote our interest.
That would raise some questions.
Well.
If we voted in that block.
Well, and the point is that it just makes sense. Other groups vote in their own enlightened self-interest, but this devotion to the Democratic Party label, I think, has hindered us. And you know, I can go back and remember myself, Bro Bradley, when I first became 21 and able to vote. You know, and I think John Kennedy and Richard Nixon was the contenders. I threw my vote to Nixon over Kennedy because I had grown up and grown my teeth here in Georgia about the Democrats talking about keeping black people niggers in their place forever. And so the Democratic Party didn't appeal to me at all. And then, of course, Mr. Nixon was a party of the emancipator, so it made sense to me. I was not as astute in politics then as I maybe am now, but you know, my common sense told me to vote for Nixon over Kennedy. So, you know, but as I look back now, I know that you know, when we were emancipated, the Republican Party was a more progressive party, and now it's been almost like a flip-flop. The Democrats are now the Republicans of Lincoln's era are now the Democrats of today. So it's been a flip-flop in philosophy. And we've had enough sense to vote for those that was most aligned with our interest. But I think that if we would then put in, and we would be the wedge vote. Mm-hmm. That we got the Democrat almost equally split between white Democrats and white Republicans, and we're saying that we're not Democrat or Republican. Whichever one you all, on whatever issue best reflect our interests, that's where we're going. Yeah. And I think if we're able to do that, we could have a lot of progress.
We could make some changes too.
Yeah.
But I heard you mention honor and valor. It made me think of Thomas Jefferson, that $5 bill, the part of the Constitution. But then I thought about Sally Hemings. Why we don't call Thomas Jefferson what he is?
Well,
I never heard nobody call him a rapist.
well, and not only that, but he was also a racist. And he also was a person that put this blockade on Haiti. That's where I'm going next week. When the black people, and so there was a blockade effectively put on Haiti when it became a black republic. And then not only that, of course, they recognized that if the Haitian was, resisting to the point that they were ready to die, then they recognized that same dynamic was present, in this country. And that's when some of those strategic decisions was being made about sending black people back to Africa. And so, many of us then went to Liberia. We established Liberia, and of course that Liberia, even up until today, used the American dollar as their official currency. And so we were a client state. Liberia was a client state of the United States. It was just black people. And I was also looking today at some history that suggested that Mr. Lincoln thought that blacks would never be accepted in this country, that we could never really assimilate and become a part of this country. And so he was for sending us out of the United States and the Belize into some of the to some of the South American countries, so that we could, start anew, because thought that this 240 years of slavery had so disadvantaged us that it might have been better to deport all the Africans out of the United States into other parts of the world. He talked about Panama and some of those places.
On that, help me to understand the difference between Booker T. Washington, Marcus Garvey, their philosophy, their thoughts.
Well, Booker T. Washington and Du Bois is often contrasted.
Okay.
And of course, Mr. Garvey, he was a great hero of mine in the present time. Booker T. Washington, no question, was a brilliant man, a man of great character and honor. But he'd accepted the fact that there need be separation of the races. And he said, we can be as separate as, just fingers on our hand. We can be separate, and people like Du Bois, he didn't buy that. He thought that we were equal, intellectually, and whether we were equal. We didn't have to be, separate or segregated. And then, of course, Mr. Garvey wanted us to go back to Africa. And, in the hindsight of 100 years or whatever, I would think that Mr. Garvey was on point. I think we should have went back to Africa. I really do.
If you look at what the three of them were saying during that time, and you look at where we are today in terms of owning businesses in terms of self-help and helping each other. What have we done? Are we going backwards?
Well, you know, some of us have made up our mind, Bradley, we're not going back. And as the old people say, our ancestors said, you know, before I'll be a slave, I'll be buried in my grave and go home to my God to be saved. So we're not going back. And then as others have said, in a more emphatic way, I'd rather drink muddy water and sleep out of a hollow log before I would put up this racism anymore. So we're not going back. Trust me, we're not. We'd rather be dead than go back.
But what about these young kids today?
Well, I don't know if you read, that was an editorial piece yesterday that was talking about this area. And I had a discussion with the writer of that article today, and he described our young kids in the most demeaning terms, to the extent that if you can make a human being a non-entity, a drag on society, then you give the police and others a license to kill them because they're just menaces. And that reporter and I had a long discussion this afternoon, and we've agreed to go and have lunch and talk more. But if you live in a global capitalistic system that is founded on white supremacy, and you have market capitalism as your economic system, and you have a group of people that don't have access to money.
What do you expect?
Well, you know, people are going to survive. Even at 78 now, you know, I'm not so passive or so stupid that at 78 in the United States, where there's a lot of grits and grocers here, and I'm saying to people, please don't make me have to take some, because I will. I'm not going to starve in America. There's too much here for me to starve in America. So, if you know, and so you got your criminal codes, and that's where so many of our young people are caught up. And it's hard for me to believe, Bradley, how is it that we, with an African American mayor, we got an African American chairman of the commission, we got the superintendent of schools African American, and we have in our prison, in our jail, 98% of the inmates are
Mr. Beasley, you're getting ready to go to Haiti. Tell me a little bit about what's your plans when you get there, and the purpose of the trip.
Well, as you know, Bradley, that Haiti is the poorest country in the Western Hemisphere, based on the things we talked about earlier.
Thomas Jefferson.
Oh, yeah, absolutely, and France, which remain a powerful country even though they lost in Haiti. But then when the devastating earthquake happened 5 years ago, one of the most venerated organizations in the world, the Red Cross. We have the American Red Cross, but the Red Cross is all over the world. Mm-hmm. And as I understand it now, the American Red Cross was about $100 million in debt, and they were struggling. They just got some new leadership, And then a godsend happened. Now, hundreds of thousands of people died, but for the Red Cross, that was a godsend.
Gift horse.
I beg pardon?
A gift horse.
Oh, absolutely. And so the sentiment of the world with all this suffering, and so the Red Cross had an aggressive campaign to raise money. And of course, given their reputation, they were very successful. And actually, in fact, raised $488 million, almost $500 million, to help the Haitian people. And, as you know, about a month ago, the NPR radio and ProPublica News did an expose on the Red Cross that suggested that the Red Cross had put out material saying that they were going to build houses in Haiti, which is so terribly needed. And they were going to build houses that was earthquake-proof, and they were going to have living rooms, and they were going to have modern conveniences. And with $500 million, you should be able to do that. But then what this report purported was that the Red Cross had only built 6 houses. Now, of course, that threw a red flag to me. And I think the media, called the Fourth Estate, that informed the public, they give us these tidbits out here. That's up to us to act on them. And when I heard that the Red Cross had raised all that money and only built 6 houses, as you know, I requested a meeting with the Red Cross here, and which was granted. And there was also a news conference. People need to know. I didn't participate in the news conference, but I was there. And from that meeting, which the Red Cross had suggested, that while they only had built 6 houses, they were proud of how they spent the money. And so I was not satisfied. So then we arranged a meeting with the CEO of the Red Cross in D.C. at their headquarters, and also with the chief international officer in D.C. So we went, me and Dr. Richard Freeman went, and with our own resources to meet and talk about it. And of course, I think we got another recording on this already, but we had put together a plan that we said we would take a group of people down to Haiti. And of course, I had you in mind. I want you to go to be the videographer. And we thought it was just common sense that here's an organization with such a great reputation that they're now a cloud over their reputation, would be willing to try to clear up some things. And so it was my position, we need to have a divergent group of people that was not of the same mind, to go down and take an in-depth look. And what we suggested to Red Cross, that we would have a 90-day period that we would send 5 to 8 people every month down to look and see what they've done.
Make an assessment.
Yeah, and then at the end of that 90 days, we would do an interim report. And then, since it's been 5 years since this happened, so we said within 120 days when we met in June, that we would do a final report that would try to authenticate and document where that money went. And we thought we had a deal with the Red Cross, but they came back a week later and said that no, they didn't agree to do that. They was willing to fund me and Dr. Freeman to go, but of course I wouldn't do that. And so we decided to spend our own money. Limited reach. I'm a retired senior citizen, but it's important enough for me to spend my money to go and see. And so I'm going on the 19th of July and spend a number of days down there. And the Red Cross is going to meet us there. And they're going to take us to the various areas
where they spent their money.
And then, of course, there's $100 million that's still out there in the bank. It's committed, but we're saying that maybe need to uncommit it. It hadn't been spent.
Now, didn't Bill Clinton receive money for Haiti also and make commitments to Haiti during that earthquake?
Well, Bill Clinton was named by the United Nations to be that special envoy to Haiti. And of course, Mr. Clinton, according to him, loved Haiti and loved the Haitian people. And then the Clinton Foundation, which is a relatively new foundation. I understand, we've done some things in Haiti, but that's another story. We would hope that Mr. Clinton had done the right thing, and by the Haitian people. And but I'm concerned about some of the appendages to the Clinton Foundation where they brought in contractors, and a lot of the aid that was pledged to Haiti was never given to the Haitian government. It was given to the NGOs that's run by the American Embassy.
It never got to the people who needed it.
It didn't get to the people that needed it. The biggest NGO in Haiti is the Salvation Army. And the Salvation Army, as far as I'm concerned, have no affinity to black people. And so the Salvation Army, and they live on the high hog. They live well, and they live in villas and etc. And I'm very concerned that while the Red Cross suggests and say to the world that they only take 9 cents out of every dollar.
That's not true.
Well, it's questionable.
That's for administrative costs.
For administrative costs, yeah. But then I found that they've got another 24%
management fees.
Yeah. And so 24 and 9
is 35.
Is 33. 24 and 9 is 33. Yeah.
You're right.
So that's a third of the money right there. And then we understand that since the Red Cross is not in the business of development, but they're an emergency response organization. So they didn't have any expertise in trying to build homes and so forth.